PK52, the Saturday morning meeting. I think this says a lot. Let's look into it real quick. Education is the key to success. No matter who you are watching this right now, you've had some form of education, whether it was homeschooling, whether you went to public schools, whether you got past elementary school or high school back in the days of our grandparents. Sometimes third grade, fourth grade would be the last grade of education that they would go to, and then they went into the workforce. Whether you went to a community college or went to a major university, whether you got a master's or a doctorate degree, then America and the world has put a stamp on education. So when things start to change, when things get uncomfortable, the more you know about what's happened in the past, and let's be honest, education, a big giant part of education is history. So currently people are making comments every single day, and the news media and the news stream are incredibly intrusive into our lives. When I grew up, there was 3 channels on TV, and virtually all the people on the 3 channels said the exact same thing. They told you what you needed to know, whether you needed to know it or not. They controlled the mind and the news. Now there's so many news channels, and they're 24 hours a day, that you're getting bombarded with, desperation. And desperation sells. Hate sells. If you can get somebody upset enough, then you can find more people to be upset, and it becomes a giant way for people to make money. So again, educating yourself. Let's look at what's going on in the retail world right now. The interest rates are high, and everybody is, oh my gosh, everything costs so much money. Well, I've been in the car business so long that interest rates were gigantic, gang. I mean, we're talking about 18% buy rate. And I'm not talking about somebody that has no credit and trying to establish herself in a credit market. I'm talking about people with good credit. People were financing homes at 18 to 22%. So cost of living back then was less money. Cost of vehicles, cost of housing, but the interest rates was gigantic. Now we've got a splurge in the interest rates on top of commodities being at basically an all-time high. And it's really got into our pocketbook. But if you think about it, we've been there before. Will it reverse itself? Of course it will. It'll get to a point where it can't survive, and who knows what's going on. In the car business right now, you're starting to see major manufacturers start to play back in the 0% market. So no matter what the rate is, they're buying the rate down to 0%. And what I find pretty entertaining is people think that there's really a 0% interest rate. There's not a 0% interest rate. A lot of times a manufacturer will say you can have this much cash back, where the manufacturer will throw money at the commodity, or you could choose the interest rate. And what you really need to do before you purchase anything that has those options is find out, is taking the money up front going to be more cost effective than taking a lower interest rate? And you have to actually sit down and do some math. More people have contacted me I'll tell you, in the last 6 months about helping them purchase a car than ever before. I mean, even when I was selling cars in the car business, I didn't have so many people calling me from the outside and going, hey, can you tell me where to go? I really don't want to go into a dealership. Can you tell me what's the best overall car? Should I buy new? Should I buy pre-owned? And they're very valid questions, but they're not going to the local dealership to ask that question. They're trying to find somebody on the outside. And I'm willing to, I enjoy helping people get in a vehicle. And what's really joyful about it, if they'll listen to me, I can put them in a vehicle that long term will decrease their cost of ownership. And the crazy thing about it is, somebody says, I'll save you money. You cannot ever save money by spending money. I can help you spend less and recover more, but the word savings is thrown around, and it's not true. If I buy a vehicle for $30,000, I drive it for 3 years and I sell it for $60,000, well, then there's some savings, and then there's money back on top of that. That's pretty rare. So when I buy something for $30,000 and I know it's going to go down in value, what I want to do is I want to look at what brand and what method should I be using in order to purchase this vehicle. A lot of people buy pre-owned because they feel like pre-owned is going to be a better overall judgment of their money, because the Depreciation is gigantic at the beginning of a brand new car purchase. For the day you buy a new car and drive it home, it's no longer a new car, it's a pre-owned car. So that happens the moment you drive off the dealership lot. A lot of times you can buy a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old vehicle with some miles on it. And if it's a very desirable vehicle, then driving that vehicle for 3 or 4 years, you're going to reduce your overall cost of payment and overall cost to recuperate some of your money. So it's just it depends on who you are and what you want. I understand why people want new cars. The technology in new cars is phenomenal. We are moments away from not having to drive our cars. I know that's scary to a lot of people, but you know, I've been in some Toyota product before and been out on the open highway taking my hands off the steering wheel, and I'm there, I'm ready to go in case something happens, and I've driven for hours on a highway and never had to put my hand back on the steering wheel. So we are moments away from the technology in the cars making it safer for every single person. Can you imagine? Let me go way off the page here for a second. Can you imagine a scenario where every car has to have an autonomous driving mode in it? So if older cars are no longer allowed on the road because they don't have this technology. So eventually you wouldn't need signal lights or stop signs or school zones or anything else because everything would be programmed to the grid. You approach a school zone, immediately your car goes down to 20 miles an hour and stays at 20 miles an hour. Pedestrian crosses in front of you, the car stops itself. And again, I'm telling you right now, we're not far away from that. Now, so I can understand why somebody says, I've got a 16-year-old that's never driven before, and they've taken some little mom and pop driving school, which is not real life of what could happen on the road the first day they drive on their own. And they say, look, I want to buy a car with all this technology in there because my child's going to be safer. And there is no doubt about that. So it's very interesting. So I'm going to educate myself on what the car can do. I'm going to educate myself on how to buy a car. As inventories for new cars increase, two things are going to happen. You're going to see the manufacturer step in and start doing some rebates. And people don't understand rebates. Should I take the cash? Should I take the rebate? Should I extend the term? Should I shorten the term? There's a lot of questions out there right now, and those questions are not emotional. It's so amazing when people are buying a vehicle. They'll get emotional about it. I don't want to lease. I'm going to pay cash for it. I don't want to have any monthly payments. And those are emotional because they haven't looked at the math. But you'll go to the grocery store and you're buying some produce that's, it didn't look like it got to the store today. It's got a little bit of age on it, but it's still on the shelf, and you go up to the counter and you're ringing out. You don't look at the cashier and say, can I get 20% off on this because it doesn't look like it's going to make it another week. But nobody does that. But in the car business, we've allowed that to be the big negotiating tool. There's something more important than negotiating. When people ask for my opinion, I said, let's look at leasing. Have you ever paid a car off? And for most people, if they like new cars and they like new technology, very few people ever get the title in their hand. There are people in the United States that have been driving for multiple years or decades that have never actually had a physical car title and say, I actually own this car, which is fine. Because what I'm using the car for is transportation and safety and enjoyment. So as long as I don't mind having a monthly payment, and that's part of my life. I spend more time in the car than I do at home asleep. And so I want to have the nicest overall car I can. So I can reduce my interest rate, which reduces my payment because there's a lot of that stuff out there right now. But as manufacturers start to increase their product, they have to move product. Let's say 100,000, just using a number, this manufacturer is going to make 100,000 of these particular vehicles. They need to sell 100,000. They can't sell 50,000 and have 50,000 still on the dealership lots 2 years from now untitled. So the manufacturers watch the numbers and say, okay, I'm halfway through the year. Here's how many I've sold. Here's how many I'm going to make. I need to move the product a little bit faster and they start teasing in the summer. And here comes the interest rates. And here comes the extended term. And here comes the rebates. And here comes leasing. So leasing comes back when product comes up. Is leasing a good deal? So I've had people just absolutely disagree with me on this. And that's the great part about how am I going to live my life? Because if everybody agreed, I don't know, maybe the world would be in chaos. But I'm a homeowner. I've heard that I'll do a class and I'll say, if you own your own home, raise your hand. And everybody in the class that's in a home raises their hand. I said, so you have clear title to the house. You don't make any payments anymore. You own that home and it's yours and you have the title for the house. And they go, no. I bought it last year. I still owe 29 years. But you get to check the box, homeowner. Well, the funny thing about it is, if you get away from the motion of I own something in America, which I don't know, can you? If you look at some states and everything, the property tax alone is another house payment. And so if I paid my house off, do I no longer pay property tax? No, I pay property tax. If I don't pay my property tax, will the state come back and take my home from me? Absolutely. So can you technically own a home? Now, once you own a home, this year I need to reseed the grass. I need to buy some more sod. I need a new roof on my house. You know what? The house really needs to be painted. And this is older furniture, and we need to redo the carpets and everything. So it's a never-ending money spent into a house. Wouldn't it be better, I'm just saying this, to go into a really nice rental property, which you don't pay any property tax. If the roof leaks, the owner pays for it. If the water heater goes out, the owner pays for it. And all of a sudden you look at over a 10-year period of time and you look at every dollar you spent because you owned a home and you had to improve your home versus exactly the dollar amount you'd have spent on renting a very nice place and not having to spend any money on anything outside the norm other than the payment. Would you be financially better off? There's never a guarantee that your home is going to go up in value. There is a tax deferment, but that comes down to not emotional, down to math. And I'm not telling you which way to go. There's people that made a lot of money speculating and buying property, but they don't live in those properties. They buy those properties, they rent those properties out, and they buy in a market because they have enough money that it escalates. So back to my current deal. Casey, can you help me find a car? I would love to help you find a car. Again, more and more people are calling me all the time. They don't want to go into a dealership because the unknown is giant right now. I used to think before there was commercials and the internet that we supplied all the information and it was real confusing, so they had to come to the dealership. Well, now, because there's so much information out there, it's more confusing than ever before. Which brand do I buy? Do I buy new? Do I buy pre-owned? Do I pay cash? Do I finance it? Do I take the interest rate that they're throwing out right now, or do I lease the vehicle? So education becomes key. Just to let you know that I'm telling you what I'm doing, Courtney and I currently are in an F&I class. So it's been a while since I've been in F&I. And so we've spent our money, we've taken our money, and we're now taking a full F&I class, and we're going to be F&I approved. So if I needed to go back into a dealership, I could go back in and be a finance and interest manager. Or I'm learning this part of the business. Think about how you spend your money. Think about, now let's say you're over 20 years old. You're no longer going to go to any kind of school and everything. You're now in the workforce. You're 20 to 60 years old. How much money every single year are you investing in your extended education? And for the most of the people that are listening to me right now, that spigot shut off. You shut the water off to that. There is no water left. You're going in, you come home every night, you're tired, you turn the TV on, you watch a sports game. Whether it's basketball or baseball or football or hockey, it doesn't matter. But there's no education for your increased wealth and well-being by following a sports team, but we use that as entertainment. What if you decided right now, watching this today, that you're in a business and you're going to stay in that? I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter what business it is. There is a next level to all businesses. Even people that have become a CEO of a corporation, they can move to another corporation. There is a next level to every single job or career. So why wouldn't you take some of the money that you spend on entertainment and go back and re-educate? If I was a salesperson in the automotive space, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out exactly where my product stands against every other product. There's things like Consumer Reports, JD Power. There's independent groups out there that show you this is where your product stands up against the other multiple products that are selling in that same space. I'm going to educate myself on that. Talk to some salespeople at a dealership. They were standing outside. There was 4 people standing outside looking at an empty parking lot, hoping that somebody would just come by. To me, that's not working, that's waiting. There's a difference between waiting and working, and I don't know if at that dealership they were getting paid by the hour, but let's say they weren't getting paid by the hour, so they only made money when they sold something. That was a non-revenue producing time to stand outside with 3 additional people, hoping that I'm faster than everybody else if somebody happened to come in the dealership. So I told them, I said, use your time, use your space for education. Pull one of your products up. Everybody put $20 under the windshield wipers, and everybody does a walk around, a product presentation. Not just, ABC, this is this, this is this, this is this, a creative presentation based upon our market and the driving conditions and the way the weather changes around here. Here's some of the key features in our vehicle that make it perfect for our area and our climate. And you make it very personal based upon what people in your market would be looking for. And whoever does the best job, it'll be clear, takes all the $20 bills. Now, once you've taken my $20 bill once, I'm going to start really paying attention. And the next time the $20 go on the windshield wipers, I'm taking the other 3 $20 bills plus mine back in my wallet. The next thing is, if you're a manager in the automotive space or any other selling space, go get the competitive products. In the Toyota space, then we sell really right now against Hyundai and Kia. They're really making a mark right now. Honda still has a presence out there. And there are some people that won't buy anything but a domestic vehicle. That's their alley, that's their tunnel, and they're only going to buy domestic. Well, bring another vehicle, another brand to the dealership every week. Put your vehicle out there side by side and work on that. There are so many opportunities to up your education level. But given the choice, the population of the United States would rather wait and complain other than dig in and educate. So let me go back to this one more time. Education is the key to success. In the last 12 months, what have you paid for and attended that would put you in a better place financially? And it's rewarding to be better at something, to achieve. I mean, I'm so basic that I wouldn't pay anybody to mow my lawn. I mean, it's not a big deal. I understand that people say, well, I'll work a job. I don't want to come home and mow the lawn. I love mowing the lawn because I love what it looks like once I've mowed the lawn. If that's your mentality, that you want that next level, if you want to be able to see with your own eyes what you've done and what you've accomplished that you never accomplished before, think about your space, where you work. Is there places you can go out and spend your money and educate up? Can you learn different diversity aspects of your business? Spend your money that currently you may be spending on things that give you no net return on something that's going to give you a net return. In my family, what I've done is I've convinced my wife to do the F&I program with me, and we're actually having a really good time and having massive conversations after each segment of the F&I program we go through. Why do people say this? Why does this work? Why does everything have to be a gimmick? Why can't you just tell people the truth? And let me finish with this. Let me do a product. Should I buy an extended service agreement? Should I buy prepaid maintenance? Should I buy wheel and tire from an F&I perspective? Well, first of all, is the labor rate of your dealership going to go up or down over the next 5 years? And everybody knows the answer. There's no way it's going down. So it's going up. Some dealerships now are over $200 an hour for a labor rate in the shop. So if anything minor goes wrong and you're a 2 or 3 hour, it can be something that's simple, that the part was not that expensive, but 2 or 3 hours of labor means this thing's going to be 600 plus whatever the part was, and of something that might have been covered under a service agreement. If I'm going to keep my vehicle for a long period of time, then I need to say, how much money would it cost me over time, educate myself to make sure this vehicle stays at the standard that I want to drive it or my family want to drive it, and should I purchase that? It's not an emotional thing. I don't want to spend the extra money, because if you have a service problem, you're going to spend the extra money. Prepaid maintenance. My big deal on that is, if you're going to keep the car for a 5-year period of time, everybody needs to buy prepaid maintenance. Everybody, because people procrastinate. You need to service the fluids on the car. You need to rotate the tires. Tires are expensive. By simply rotating the tires, you're going to make your tires last longer, which is going to keep money in your wallet. But if I know I've paid for that up front, then the tendency for me to go in and not spend any money at the dealership and just have them do the maintenance has gone up. We don't teach our children anymore anything about automotive maintenance. So if I bought my child a car, the first thing I would buy would be a service maintenance agreement, so that they knew at these intervals on their vehicle that they need to bring the vehicle in and everything's taken care of. Whether they understand what's being done or not doesn't matter. So there's so many products out there right now, and we are moving to that deal as you go into a dealership right now, and some manufacturers, there's not a lot of profit in a new car. So the profits are getting smaller and smaller as the manufacturers start to do rebates and money back. And so now the profit for the dealership would be to sell the long-term protection of the vehicle, a vehicle service agreement, prepaid maintenance, gap insurance. If you buy a vehicle that you know is going to have a gap in the value, you did 100% finance, you didn't put any money down, protecting yourself against somebody running a red light and totaling your vehicle is something you might want to think about. It all comes down to, how do I keep my money in my pocket and make my vehicle as appetizing as I possibly can when I'm ready to sell it or trade it? Because the better the value, the more the money you recover. So think about educating yourself. In the next 12 months, what are you going to spend your money on? Your hard-earned money on? Not on a beverage, not on food, not on entertainment, but on educating. And I'll read this one more time. Education is the key to success. PK52, the Saturday Morning Meeting.